if you're a runner, I have a Pilates practice for you today to help you cross-train so you can prevent injury and increase your running performance. Hi, my name's Mariah. Welcome to Wealthy Boss. I bring new workouts every week, so if you want more workouts, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. There is a lot of ways we could utilize Pilates to help us in our running training. Today, I'm just going to focus so we can stick to a nice, concise 10-minute practice on mobilizing the spine, because the spine does get a lot of jarring from pounding the pavement. And then particularly, we're going to spend the most time today on strengthening the sides of our seat, the gluteus medius, so that they can be balanced with all that work that we do for the glute max. You don't need anything other than a mat or a soft surface. So let's go ahead and begin on our backs.
We're going to begin lying on the mat with our feet on the ground in what we call our neutral spine. So you see we have just a little bit of light of day underneath that low back. On an inhale, we're going to erase that space. So we flatten the spine all the way to the ground. And then on the exhale, send the belly button towards the thighs without lifting the seat. So we exaggerate that arch. So we're going to move back and forth through kind of these exaggerated movements. So we find neutral spine in between. It's the inhales that are going to flatten our spine, where we feel every single vertebra pressing down into the ground. And it's the exhales, but we still keep the seat down as we exaggerate and lift only the low back. So in running, we tend to compress and kind of pound the vertebrae together. So we want to do a couple of things here. We want to create more space between the vertebrae. And then we also just want to gain a little bit more awareness of where neutral spine is, somewhere in between, which of course is where we want to be when we're standing upright. Sometimes a lot of running can tighten and shorten our hip flexors, as you well know, which can kind of take away that natural curvature, which is the ideal distribution of force. Now we're going to add a little bit of strengthening here. So the next time that you've inhaled and you've flattened the spine onto the mat, I want you to continue rolling the pubic bone towards your chest as you curl up. We're going to peel up one vertebrae at a time. Of course, strengthening a little bit in our hamstrings here, but primarily the focus for these today is in really segmenting that spine. A couple of breaths here at the top. We're also lengthening the front of the body, which is so beneficial. And then use 3 powerful slow exhales to gently curl down one bone at a time, but we're still thinking about almost tucking tailbone under so that we can really articulate and exaggerate the space between each vertebra. We're going to do that again. So inhale, rock the pelvis back. Take a couple of deep exhales to get all the way up. I like to take just a quick inhale in between, and then even more slowly can we unroll that spine one vertebrae at a time. It feels so good to kind of move through that whole spinal chain, since when we're running, it just kind of tends to get jammed in that upright position. Perfect. And then go ahead and rock up for me. That feels good too. We're going to come to a side lying position next. So we are going to be either having our head down onto our bicep, or you can support the head in the hand, whatever feels more comfortable. We want to be aware of opening the shoulders away from each other. Heels come together, toes go apart. Now today, I'm going to keep my pinky toe on the ground. If you prefer, lift your feet though, totally fine. We're going to start to open and close the top knee, which at the first couple of reps does not feel like that big of a request, but these movements, this abduction away from the midline of the body is going to catch up to us pretty quickly. We also want to pay attention here to a little bit of nuance with the movement. Take your top finger, your pointer finger of the top hand, find your hip bone, and I want you to focus on really keeping that finger still so that we're emphasizing squeezing from the side of the seat, the gluteus medius, rather than rocking forward and back with the torso. So we're really kind of isolating into the side of the hip here, which can become kind of undertrained if we are not cross-training with running. Running puts a big emphasis on our gluteus maximus, which obviously we need to propel us forward. But especially if you think you suffer from IT band syndrome, could actually be kind of a fallout effect of being a little too weak on the side muscles here. And that can actually exacerbate tension around the hip, all the way down the side of the leg through the tensor fasciae lata. We are now going to alternate one clamshell where the heels are together. Now allow the heels to separate as you take the leg straight up. Next time heels connect, open it back up. Perfect. So we're going to continue moving through these slowly and methodically. You might feel a little bit more heat than you originally did on the side of the seat. These are smaller muscles, and again, as runners, we don't necessarily work these muscles so much unless we do something like this. So this is really going to help prevent injury and balance out that musculature. Perfect. Now keep the heels together, take it to that highest range, and then just little pulses up with that knee. Up, up, up. We're still isolating that hip bone so it's super still, ensuring that we're getting the maximum engagement on the gluteus medius. So good for us. Squeeze the heels together a little bit more. That's going to give us even a little bit more oomph. Let's go. 4, 3, 2. We have a little more to go. Relax the bottom foot. Top leg extends only to about hip height. So notice between my knees, I have about maybe like a grapefruit distance between the two knees. I'm going to extend that leg forward, and then it's down and up, down and up. There we go. Now we're really starting to get into that seat by adding that longer lever. Do me a favor. Notice if that top hip rolled forward to make it a little easier. We don't want to cheat. This is a short workout, so send that hip back in space just until the glutes are aligned one on top of the other. Keep going. This is amazing. I don't care how high you lift. I know you're feeling this. Okay, we have one more thing we're going to do here. We're going to tap front and back. Front and back. Very good. Again, trying to keep the hip as still as possible so that rather than rainbowing or arcing with the hip, we're really kind of controlling this movement from the side of the seat. You're doing so well. This is going to help you feel so much better for your runs, going to keep you free from injury as much as possible. Let's go. 3, 2, and 1. Amazing. Go ahead and give yourself a little massage there if you like. And then we're going to flip around end to end so that we can do the other side. Now you know where we're going. Heels come together. Squeeze that knee up to the sky from the side of the seat. Again, you can kind of take that fingertip to the hip as a little bit of a guide to ensure that we're firing up from the most beneficial place here. A little cross training can go such a long way, especially for kind of endurance training for marathons or half marathons or whatever you are training for. Promise you, you will not regret the time you spend cross training for injury prevention and better biomechanics as you move. Now we alternate the clamshell with the leg lift. Clamshell with the leg lift. I'm not looking for you to go incredibly high with the leg lift. It's really more the repetition, moving away from the midline of the body that gives us that benefit. Now maybe see, since we kind of know what we're doing on side 2, see if we can start to deepen into our inhales and exhales. A Pilates inhale is through the nose, and then exhale through the mouth through pursed lips. Just going to give us a little bit more control with that body. It's also going to help fire up the core a little bit more, so your deeper core muscles, which of course is always important for running as well and for the breath pattern. Perfect. It's time to squeeze the heels together, and then it's those little tiny pulses at the top, really focusing on moving away from the midline of the body. And it's that last little squeeze I'm looking for. So that last little kind of millimeter of opening that knee up to the sky without rocking the hip back. You're doing great. Here's 4, 3, 2, and then go ahead and relax that bottom leg. We're going to extend that leg forward. Again, making sure the hip doesn't roll forward. We stack it nice and tall, and then it's up and down. Ooh, this is, I think, the most intense one out of the series, and especially since we tack it onto the end when those glute med muscles are already just a little bit fatigued. You're doing great. Notice if your shoulders are collapsing in. As runners, we want to really make sure we're opening into the chest. For those arm swings, we can kind of tend to slouch. We want to always be in that good habit of keeping that chest open. It will help our running posture as well. And then extend that leg forward. Give me a little tap forward. 3, 2, and then go ahead and relax that bottom leg. We're going to and back, forward and back. Keep the hip as quiet as possible. Obviously, it's going to move for this one, but we still want to think about kind of keeping the hip bones stacked as opposed to collapsing forward or tilting back. Nice deep inhales through the nose, exhales through the mouth. For 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Go ahead and flip onto your belly, stretch it back into a child's pose, or in Pilates, we refer to this as our shell pose. Take the knees wide, extend the fingertips long, enjoy a nice stretch. You are welcome to stay in this stretch as long as you like. Otherwise, you can go ahead and rock back up. And thank you so much for joining me today.
If you're looking to cross-train more to enhance your running performance, you might also like a workout video that I filmed called your post-run yoga flow. These are the exact stretches that I use to follow during my 2 marathons. I particularly use these to follow up on my long run days, and it's a little bit longer, a little bit more of a commitment, but I definitely swear by it. I did not have any injuries through either of my marathons, and it feels so good after all of those long runs that you do when you're training for a race. So I'll link to that in the description below. If this was helpful, I would sure appreciate a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.